Okay, good morning. Welcome to the Lorain County Board of Commissioners meeting of October 19th, 2021. This meeting will now come to order. We will rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And our inspirational word for the day comes from Galatians. Do your own work well, then you will have something to be proud of, but don't compare yourself with others.
Thank you, Commissioner Lundy. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Here.
Commissioner Moore?
Here.
Commissioner Lundy.
Here.
Okay, A, public hearing. Madam Clerk.
This is the final hearing on the Baden House Lateral Number 2, Amherst and New Russia Townships, June 15, 2021, Resolution 21-395, fixed this date and time of receiving the engineer's report on September 15th and scheduled this final hearing as of today. September 15th, Resolution 21-561, accepted the report on the Baden House Lateral Number 2 by the county engineer. September 28th, letters were sent to the owners by certified mail notifying them of the hearing and assessments. October 5th and 12th, notice of said hearings were published in the Chronicle Telegram. And then October 4th, received calls from the following residents: Marita George, Mary Haynes, and John Haynes, attorney for Nick Abraham, regards to the letters. And then October 14th, received a letter from Kevin Langenberg and Amy Lesniak concerning plans for the ditch. And then October 18th, letter received from attorney Steve Albanese, regards to Valerie Haynes and submission of claims for damages.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, number one, Mr. Dan Petticord, can you swear in any folks here wishing to give testimony?
And those of you who anticipate giving testimony today, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony that you may give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Number two, we will move on to the engineer's office for comment.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
I'm Peter Zwick, who represents the Office of the County Engineer today. Can you all hear me properly? Mm-hmm. Great.
Yes.
This hearing is the next step in the ditch petition process. And to refresh the commissioner's memory, this is the ditch that we're talking about. This picture is from the area of Albrecht Road where the ditch turns north. You can see that it demonstrates the very sluggish flow regime. And the viewing was perhaps the time that you commissioners remember, that was back in May. That picture was taken shortly thereafter. And you received my report, which was dated September 10th. You received it on the 15th of September. That is the engineer's final report. It contains a number of items that include the final estimate of cost, which is $358,055. We reported that as our opinion of the total improvement cost in that report, and our written report contains a detailed breakdown of the cost estimate, including an estimated $0 in damages. It is the county engineer's opinion that the benefits of this project will exceed the costs and that the proposed design will answer the prayer of petition. And this cost will be distributed or assessed over about 100 acres of land. You've seen this diagram before. The irregular blue encircled area is the 100 acres of land that will benefit, and the pink lines are the ditches. At the left of the drawing is the airport, but it looks like a farm because that part of the airport is farmed. In the middle of the drawing, along Albrecht Road, are the houses in question, and at the right side of the drawing are a couple of large farms that also drain into the improvement. Like I said, it's about 100 acres of land, and some of it is airport, some is residential, and most of it is farms. To summarize the improvement, just to refresh everyone's memory, we're cleaning and shaping the ditch. We're restoring the drainage in that 100 acres, and we're going to replace inadequate culverts along the route as we go. And, of course, if the commissioners approve the project, it will be put under permanent county maintenance. I did propose in that report in September, we recommended an alternate route which has some benefits. I photoshopped this in. Here I am standing on Albrecht Road taking a photograph. The dark gray boxy-looking structure would be a new head wall in the foreground. And if you could follow those blue lines that curve and parallel Albrecht Road and then meet up with the ditch in the distance, that would be the adjustment we're proposing to the route of the ditch. Here it is in engineering detail and an engineering plan. It's the same idea drawn out in a plan view. The adjusted route on the north side of Albrecht Road is indicated here in blue. If you can see that curved blue line on the north side of Albrecht Road. We believe it is the preferable route for various reasons, such as increased drainage capacity, better water quality, safer roadway for the traveling public because we're eliminating potentially unsafe drop-offs, and it will also avoid the potential of costly utility relocations that will potentially delay the project. Yes, it turns out it's the same utility company that delayed the Center Ridge Road project for quite some time, I understand. The good news is that this route is actually more cost-effective. It will not increase the cost of the project. And that's the alternate we're proposing, so the commissioners will do a few things eventually if they decide favorably, including designating the course and the beginning and the end or the termini of the project. In detail today, as my understanding, commissioners may affirm or they may dismiss the petition. The commissioners will confirm or finalize the route and the assessed dollar amounts that are provided in the September report. And we will turn the county engineer loose to go out for bids and for construction of this project. And the county engineer has a few other things to do along the way, one of which is to submit it to the Ohio Department of Natural Resources and conduct the bid process and so forth. And that is my brief report. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now or later during the meeting.
My question would be on finalizing the route you're proposing.
Yes, and that was explained in the September 10th report.
We don't have to do any acquisition of property for a redirect on a route, or we're good?
The route is immediately north of the right-of-way of the road. We would normally take an easement for that part of for the whole length,
Yeah, I
the
meant
mile-long
easement,
length of the
right.
project.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
They asked me to reset this.
Dan, are you good?
I'm fine with Peter's report, yeah.
Okay, number 3, the petitioner, do you have any comments that you would like to make? It's Ms. Hayes, right? She's the petitioner? Okay, Ms. Hayes, would you like to make
Hens.
any comment?
No, she's not the petitioner.
Oh,
It's
who's,
Hens, right?
Hennis, I'm sorry.
I keep saying Hens. Hennis.
I
Sorry.
apologize, I pronounced the name wrong.
You're getting called, that's the main thing.
Okay, so you're the petitioner, would you like to speak?
Yeah, you have to come up to the microphone.
And then just state your name and address for the record.
It's Mary Hennis, 44405 Albrecht Road.
Yes, ma'am.
We were just wondering, what is the plan from like behind our homes is my first question. From where to where are they?
Peter, maybe Peter, can you address that for? Ms.
Yes,
We're gonna
I
have-
can. So the project includes, that's a little louder, is that all right?
That's great, yeah.
The project includes the older ditch known as lateral number 2, which runs kind of a, here, let me put this back.
Right?
Yeah, good. So remember that whoops, wrong way. Remember that diagram I said, everyone saw before? There it is. All right, this is Haynes, I'm sorry. Haynes. Here, I'll point here since you're standing right here. This vertical pink line at the left runs behind your house, which is the second house here, and a couple of your neighbors' houses. It's about 700 feet long, and the prayer of the petition was to provide positive drainage there where there historically may never have been, but that will connect to the larger ditch, which runs left and right and off to the upper right-hand corner of the drawing.
Another thing I wanted to address, which I'm sure you will, was the bills we received in the mail.
Bills, I
No,
don't believe anybody is.
it's all the phone calls that
It
we
is,
got in
it's-
regards to the.
Yeah,
The letter.
we received a letter asking us that today we had to tell you whether we were gonna pay cash or check.
I
For
think
the proposed assessments?
Yes.
Yeah,
And I think I talked to you guys, remember when I was out there, that I think we just got $60 million, and I think a lot of it could be used for that. But we're gonna have that discussion a little bit later with the Stormwater Management Director.
okay.
So, just so we're clear for the record, one of the things you're here about is not only to ask questions about the ditch, but to object to the proposed assessment that was sent to you in the mail.
Yes.
Yes,
Which is a requirement by law.
yes, which is a requirement by law. that
Thank
object
you.
to the-
Well, I did, when I got the letter, I
Must
did
make a
call
lot
the
of calls.
commissioner's office with questions, and I got no answer 3 times, and no one ever called me back. So that's why I'm asking here.
And for the rest of you who are here, if you receive such an assessment, and Don and Peter can talk probably more specifically about this, the law sets out a process that the engineer does their job and says, this is how much this is gonna cost, and then there's basically a formula that sends out a letter to the affected property owners. You then have the right and the duty to object to that formula of assessments, okay? The commissioners then can decide how much of this project is for the general public good. And if it's for the general public good, or a percentage of it is for the general public good, this board can then make a determination that some of the costs, all of the costs, anything in between, be paid out of public funds. Okay? But I wanted to make sure it was on the record that you're objecting to the assessments that were provided to you.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that option wasn't on the letter, so. It's
not gonna be
And
on
when I called, so, but yes, and I'm gonna object that.
There you go.
That's what you needed to hear.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, that question comes up every single time we have a meeting, and we always have to clarify that that's what we're required by law as part of the notification process.
And this will not affect any of you
Dan
here.
should be after the residents,
except
don't you?
some of except
Matt,
the elected
Where should we
officials.
put Dan?
This process is all
Romanchik.
changing.
Don Romanchik.
It's all
Should he go
changed
here or
as
should he
of
go after the
May, Don.
residents?
I think it
So
should be
this is
before the
probably the
residents.
last
Next.
ditch petition that's gonna run this way. The state streamlined the laws and updated them from the last century, basically. So I know it doesn't matter to you guys, but it should be a little bit easier going forward, a little bit more efficient.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up, Don Romanchik, if you would come on up so we can grill you. Ask you questions.
You may want to take down that graphic, too.
Here,
Ask if anybody.
excuse me.
I think she was the petitioner, was there?
she was the petitioner.
She was the petitioner,
But wouldn't any other property owners that received letters actually have the right to object?
You can take evidence.
They're
of
on number
affected-
5.
Okay, you can do it
Yeah.
later.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's still public comment at that point.
okay. So Don, we'll have discussion with you now.
Okay.
You could just give us your brief overview.
Okay. Thank you, Board. As we begin to bring this process to an end, it has been discussed several times about the potential financing of this project back at when we were out at the ditch viewing, and comments were made about how this project could ultimately be funded. And as we've gone through and developed costs, we've been able to better ascertain the ability of the county to be able to pay for the improvements subject to board approval. I cannot speak for the board, but I can tell you, based upon a review of the finances of the Stormwater District, as well as the additional funds that the county had received earlier in the year through ARP, that I have no hesitation to recommend that this board consider paying for 100% of the improvement. It will not have a negative impact on the function of the Stormwater District. It will not prohibit us from doing projects we have already made commitments to other communities. It will not prevent us from doing our normal course of business going into next year, making available another $400,000 to community grants for our townships or our mini grant or planning grant. So we do have, from the financial capability and what we have on hand, to be able to fully pay for this improvement if that would be the pleasure of this board. I'm open for any questions you may have.
No, there's talk about, how much money do you have in your stormwater management account roughly?
Right now, we have a carryover balance in excess of $2 million.
Okay, and we have a lot of money coming from ARP funds. I don't want to take away, because we've talked about this.
Right.
5-year plans. I don't have a problem. I really don't want to mess with you because there's a lot more, going on than 5 years.
Right. What I have looked at, and I'd had a couple of conversations, I feel comfortable because the ARP money is a little bit more, shall we say, flexible in its ability to be used.
But we only have a short window to spend it,
And we do have other projects coming up. The biggest thing is, and I'm going to put on more of a community development type of hat, and working with the engineer's office as well, and Peter's counterpart, Bob Kleiber. We've got several applications pending where we're looking at doing sanitary sewer work with the Village of Rochester, the Village of Kipton, the Village of South Amherst, the Baumhart Sewer, or the Northwest Interceptor as it's called. We have not heard yet on the status of those applications. If those do come through, the ARP dollars would be much appreciated. If for whatever reason we were not funded, I have Dudley Ditch, Fortune Phelan Ditch, Bannister Ditch, Kellner Ditch being teed up and ready to go so that we would be able to deploy ARP funds if we were unable to use it for these other uses and still maintain the integrity of our financing for the Stormwater District years into the future.
Do you know what those other ditches could cost?
Ballpark, we're at about $800,000, give or take, on Kellner. We are roughly between Fortune and Bannister, if they go full out ditch reshaping similar to this one, of approximately $2 million. And then the Dudley ditch, we would be looking at similarly about $350,000 to $400,000. I have a wetland analysis I'm waiting on that one. And there are other ditches coming. So,
Those are substantial. That's why I keep wondering about maybe a blending of some sort, of some stormwater money and some ARP money, but you know, I had a discussion with you the other day.
Right.
I just want to make sure, as Commissioner Moore has pointed out, that if we've got some things that are in the queue, that they wouldn't be hindered if we were able to use some of the stormwater funds towards this project.
Correct, and that's where I think a mix is wise at this point in time. And should other, other priority type of projects that will have a huge impact on our community for the positive in economic development, that if those don't come to fruition, we've got projects we can move. We're getting ready to. You may recall you just approved, and we're going to be out to bid shortly on being able to fly these ditches using drone technology. So we're continuing to move forward on all of these, and we will be doing another solicitation with the township. A total of 41 projects right now that they've identified. One of them is actually taking this project where it would end, and then extending it north to tie in where Amherst Township has completed their Batten House and Angle Ditch projects that they've been working on for the last 6 years. So there's some great opportunities here. I wish I could use all of the money in good conscience for stormwater, but I think it's important that we leave our options open at this time and give the board the flexibility that it deserves to determine what our future needs could be.
Just formulaically done. I think I know the answer, but so you would concur with what I believe Peter said, that 100% of this project is conducive to the public good, or conducive to public welfare, and its benefits to the general public. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. It protects several public assets. It will assist in generating revenue for the county, both in its most simplistic, better farm yield means better rents for the airport. It also is protecting Albrecht Road, which on occasion does go underwater. Also, to the south, better drainage will improve the yields for the farms that are operating across the way, as well as having long-term drainage. Do not know what the plans are for any of the properties, but if it were to ever go to residential development, the need to manage stormwater is key, and the number one problem we run into in this county is that when a subdivision goes in, is making sure that when that stormwater is being managed, it has an adequate outlet, a place to go. This ensures that and puts it on permanent maintenance. So both from a short-term perspective, solving the issues of our existing property owners, long-term income perspective, and future development potential, all of this would definitely point to a public good where the board would be more than able to pay for this 100%.
What about the Bannister one? Do you feel the same way about that one? And the other one for 800,000, is it Kinnear?
Kellner is actually one that we've been working on for some time. I'm actually waiting on a petition to be filed. I've been in conversations with the village of LaGrange.
Do you feel that the statement you just made in regards to the county impact to helping
Oh.
others, would you use that same statement with these other two?
Preliminarily, right?
Well, yeah,
Correct. Overall, those statements are true in that the potential for development exists, varying degrees, but yes.
That's all. I wanted to make sure we weren't,
I want to make sure that they have the time to do the work the
Right.
right way. Maybe thinking a certain thing, but you have to get into the work and do the work and then make a reasoned determination at the time.
Correct.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, I know anytime folks hear $60 million, it's certainly a lot of money. But, I just want to make sure that, maybe we can find a good blend that works. We have a lot of communities approaching us, wanting us to work with them on broadband. We have communities approaching us wanting to work on some sewer initiatives, which also leads to economic development. We have a jail that's in pretty bad shape, that is going to carry a pretty high price tag, and obviously that's a need for the county, and also would put a lot of people to work. So, and we have the residents paying the stormwater fee, so it only makes sense that we try to, invest that for the purpose that it's designed for. So I just keep coming back to possibly doing a blend here of some stormwater money and some ARP dollars.
What kind of blend are we looking at? What would Don be happy with?
Yes. Yes,
It
Don.
depends on which Don you're talking to, but realistically, I think we could be at a 1/3 ARP, 2/3 stormwater on this project, and as we move forward and the board's vision gets clearer for the 10,000 demands and the $340 million in requests that you'll receive, that
Yeah, it's a little low.
but that realistically, I'm going to be back. We're going to be doing more of this, and I want to make sure that not only are we looking out for, the long-term interests of the district, but also we're looking for the long-term interests of the county in some of these projects that you have before you. And I would feel uncomfortable requesting more at this point in time, not to say we wouldn't use it for this project, but I think knowing that there are other projects coming and that if we kind of move this decision a little bit further down the line on how much money we want to deploy into stormwater for these, it's not going to hurt anything that we have planned at this time.
What I see coming, and maybe I should talk to you privately. 20 years ago, I remember we had a ditch and I had people in here and the assessment was gonna be about $1.58, I think a month or something. And, the room was a lot of people in the room, which means this is the first time I think we're talking about, not doing an assessment, other than other ditches that we may have made that similar decision. So are we gonna have a lot more people in this room that are being assessed on their ditches because how this board may be leaning?
At this point in time, no. Every project that's being contemplated is either township-driven that can go through the community grant program.
I mean, the ones in the past, in the last 5-10 years, are we gonna have a bunch of people that are paying assessments?
No, we have not
waiving
set
those.
assessments for,
Okay,
Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely.
well,
20 years ago.
You don't think I'd want assessments, do
Yeah.
you?
Well, let me clarify one thing in that residents of the city of Vermillion did have to pay because they are not members of the stormwater district. All the properties here are paying their stormwater fee. Similarly, Straw Hague Ditch, there were some residents or property owners in the city of Elyria that also paid because they're not a member of the stormwater district. And at that time, Elyria did not even have a stormwater district to look to as well. So,
Oh, that's good.
but in general, no one has had to pay in over 10 years.
Okay, thank you.
So out of the 360,000, you think 240,000 could come from stormwater with 120,000 from ARP?
Yes, that would be,
And that would not interfere with future projects?
no, it would let us spend down a little bit of our carryover for a worthy project, but still protects us going forward so that we can continue to undertake some larger projects without having to worry about financing. We can still pay as we go.
And no assessments, that's the
And
best
no
part.
assessments.
Right.
And one last thing, just maybe for everyone's clarification, and I apologize if I jumped ahead. There is, the second part of the letter, I believe, talks about the assessments for the ongoing maintenance of now, just so everyone knows, well, those assessments get set, so they will exist. Annually, the board has in the past, and I believe will continue the policy of suspending the collection of those assessments so long as the district has adequate funds to do the maintenance. And so this would be something that I would hope the board would continue for this project as well, to suspend the collection of the maintenance assessments, we do have adequate cash in the Stormwater District to provide the maintenance for the foreseeable future.
So when you run out of money, the people have to pony up.
They would have to pony up the little dollar if we do run out of money.
But that's part of the purpose of the
We
stormwater
had
district,
maintenance
is
for
Correct.
a year.
Correct.
kind of spread those out a little bit. That's the idea behind it.
Correct, and we've been suspending the collection of maintenance assessments for now 6 years, I believe it is.
Yeah, it was an early lesson I learned in Columbus. I was told I couldn't tie the hands of the future legislature, so it's the same here. I mean, we can't tie the hands of future boards if they make another determination, but we can certainly do the correct thing today.
Thank you. I have no more.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Board.
Okay,
It sounds better in Latin anyway, though. You can't tie the hands of a future board. It sounds better in Latin, but
Yes.
same principle.
okay, do we have any representatives from the townships that would like to speak?
Just Neil's here.
Neil, would you like to speak? Just your name, address, and who you're representing, Neil, and take it away.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm Neil Lynch, trustee in Amherst Township. I do appreciate you talking about blending here, and I understand that. I'm sure it's going to come down to, as Commissioner Moore asked, okay, what's the proportion going to be? But I do have a couple of questions, and it might help direct you into that blending. First off, there's a total here in the property owners that are being assessed of 378.58 acres, and as Peter Zawick indicated, it's 100.58 acres of benefited property. Do we know of those property owners, both the 378.53 specifically, how much they are currently paying in stormwater fees today? Do we have that information?
If I may?
Yes.
Each individual homeowner is paying approximately $43 a year for their stormwater fee. The airport is one of the largest ratepayers. I do not know what it is as far as the annual bill, other than it's in excess of $5,000 annually. And then for the parcels across the street that are farmed, I believe that there is no charge because there is no impervious surface on those lots.
Okay, and then I appreciate that. So the 20% that's residential is paying $43 a year. And that's really a small number of homes, so the vast majority of the stormwater funds are coming from the airport. Of this area, a good portion is in the sanitary district that the county owns. Do we know what percentage of that acreage, the 378.53, is actually in the sanitary district, and which portion is the airport?
I'm not aware of any sanitary sewers along Albrecht Road. The airport is connected to the sanitary sewer. I'm not sure I fully understand
Yeah.
all of the question.
The 378 acres, you're going to the north and then heading over towards Oberlin Road, so it's not all, along Albrecht. So of that, how much of that acreage is in a sanitary district? Because the question was, when the discussion was going on apportionment, and the benefit of this project is also the economic benefit for the potential development in the future, most likely being residential development. The residential development, to estimate any of that, is going to be dependent upon the availability of wastewater treatment. Most likely, the development that the county would probably want to see would be with sanitary sewers versus on-lot systems. So I'm not sure how much of this acreage is currently within the sanitary sewer district that runs from the airport up along Oberlin Road, because it does cross over going to the east of Oberlin Road.
I honestly, at this point in time, don't know. I've been concentrating on the stormwater side of the equation. I will say that the existing residential have undergone some substantial damages as well, or not, wrong term. They've been impacted by the poor drainage. Septic systems have been backed up, have been clogged, have shortened lifespans. I know the petitioner herself has suffered from loss of use of land, damage to her garage on numerous occasions as well. And so this will also be eliminating some costs for the existing homeowners. Benefits are much greater than what they pay in stormwater fee. If that helps in the analysis you're gaining towards.
Yeah, I was just trying to determine, as far as the potential economic development, since that's one of the benefits that was mentioned here, you know, how can you get to the point of determining that proportion? And to do that, you would have to know the area where there's sanitary sewers, because I agree with you, the current homes that have the on-lot systems, they're probably not going to be very effective if the groundwater's saturated. There's no way they possibly can be. So that's why it's necessary to keep our ditches moving here. So I just want to know, though, how much of this was in a sanitary district, and perhaps that's something the engineer can get later so this can be determined. I would hope that there is a way the county can work this out where there won't be an assessment, though, on the property owner. Still get this improved. It's something that needs to be done. As everyone here is aware, there really has been very little maintenance in the past on many of these ditches, and it's just trying to catch up now. There's just not enough money to repair and restore all the drainage we currently have in the county. And Don, you've discussed that at multiple stormwater district meetings in the past.
That is correct, and this would also, the key to this is that not only cleaning out the ditch to kind of get us caught up on this piece of it, but technically this then grants the county the authority and the ability to maintain it. That is the problem we have with much of the drainage system throughout the county, is essentially it's privately owned, privately controlled, and it's the responsibility of each individual landowner to maintain their portion of a ditch. Through this process, we actually establish the public good and give the county not only the authority, but the ongoing responsibility to maintain that drainage. So this is the first biggest, most important step in ensuring that we maintain and we improve our drainage in this area.
Okay. All right, well, I'd still be interested if you get the information in the future, how much of this is in the sanitary district, because if, otherwise you're talking much larger lots that would have to stay out there, so you may not be seeing the economic development that you would expect in that area. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you. Okay, we'll be moving on to residents' comments. The first resident is Valerie Hayes.
So she just walked out.
And-
She might have
okay.
went to the restroom.
I was thinking if we should have a restroom break. Okay, we'll just go to the next one. Sheila Berry.
They answered all my questions.
Okay.
Those are the best comments right there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Do you want to make a note on that then, Madam Clerk? Okay, Lori Jalolovich.
Answered all my questions.
Okay. Vincent Amate? Amato? Yes, sir?
I'm Vincent Amato. I live at 44261 Albrecht, and my concern is the ditch is right next to my house. I mean, it's I used to be able to jump it. I can't jump it no more. and it's coming towards my house. And I'm figuring with, you know, with all this stuff going on, and Peter was talking about moving partial of that ditch, why couldn't we just go all the way in the back and come back down the ditch, you know, where maybe be able to move the culvert a little bit down, so this way you're at a straight 90 instead of doing this. Because my concern is, you know, in another 5-10 years, I'm gonna be back up here because the ditch is right next to my house. I tried to deal with this back in 2009, which I called the county engineer, Russia Township, the airport, and they basically all told me that it was my ditch and I had to clean it. So, you know, my concern, like I said, is that ditch coming towards my house, because it's only 8 feet away from my house.
Mr. Zwick? Yes, thank you.
So the ditch runs between your house and George's house.
Yeah, it's
And
8
it
feet
actually
from my
runs-
house and 5 acres to his house.
Pardon me?
I said it's like 5 acres away from, or 2-3 acres away from his house.
So the houses are removed from the ditch. It's actually your garage that's pretty close to the ditch?
No, I got a bedroom and a basement and a family room right there.
In the house?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, sure. So the plan is to keep the ditch in that location. Plan is to dig out the sediment and lay back the edges of the ditch. And the reason, and I think you've been correctly advised that today, unless this project would go forward, part of that ditch, roughly half of it, is your ditch. It's on your property, not the county's ditch or anyone else's.
Well, they got an easement on it. They told me to clean it because it was mine, and I told them, well, I'm filling it in, and they said, no, we got an easement on it.
I'm not aware of any existing easement on that
There's an
ditch,
easement on that property.
so you should send some documentation to me. I'd like to look at that, but you're in luck because if commissioners vote to proceed with this project, by state law, automatically a new easement is created where the ditch is constructed and alongside for access. And even if you clean the part of the ditch that's on your property, it might not have much effect because there are so many properties involved now, sedimentation and the obstructions and the culverts and everything's extend for a half mile in each direction from your house. So the public benefit here is to accomplish something that no individual
Thank
could
you.
accomplish by himself or herself. If all the individuals got together and said, Mr. Zwick, give me a copy of your plans, we'll go dig out our ditches to that depth and width and length and so forth, that would accomplish the same objective. But
Actually,
today, the only feasible method is to go through this process.
I mean, actually, we did clean that ditch up, spent our own money on it.
How's it working?
Well, just so,
It needs more, doesn't it?
Well, it's because
think so.
it won't flow across the street. The culvert's plugged. The land over there is higher than the land over across the street. So
Like I said,
it
it
ain't gonna work
requires,
anyway.
well, in the county engineer's professional opinion, it requires this coordinated project. It's a lot of money, it's a very long project, thereby the expense.
Well,
And all these factors have to be engineered.
I understand that, but I mean, you see the mosquitoes on that. I mean, you can't even walk outside your house because of that ditch. The mosquitoes are just crazy. I mean, how would you, I mean, the ditch, my house is here, the ditch is here. I mean, it's so close to my house.
Well, that's the case, yes. I don't dispute that.
are you, it's your objective, just so I'm clear,
I'm objecting that
you
the
want
way
them
he,
to move the ditch?
That's what
Well,
I'm hearing.
he's rerouting that past the culvert and going this way and then going back up. Why can't he just go along the back of all our houses and just come straight up to have a 90 instead of doing all the wiggle waggle stuff? You know, to get that away from my house, because I'm telling you, in 10 years, I'm gonna be back up here.
I hope you're not, because
I do
despite
too.
the fact that this is very flat land, very hard to drain, in fact, that's the kind of land that you usually look for when you build an airport. You want a nice flat area. The ruling grade is 2 feet in 1,000 feet, and
I know it's
your
gonna drain
ditch,
slow.
after we're cleaned properly, will still be at that ruling grade, and it's in the most efficient location. I don't have to just drain your property with this public improvement that's being proposed. I have to drain all the properties. I have to do it efficiently. I have to do it cost effectively. And that's my professional recommendation.
Peter, so I understand, the engineer's recommendation is that the ditch as placed is the most efficient location for this
Yes,
project.
yes, and it's been there for some time. The ditch was actually improved in 1945, I believe, in the
Last time
location
it was-
that it's at,
Last
between
time
your
it was
house
cleaned
and.
up.
In fact, I don't think either your house or your neighbor's house was there at that time.
I don't know, that's my complaint.
Understood?
I don't agree with it, but.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Valerie Hayes. Oh, yeah, just state your name and address for the record.
Valerie Hayes Rafferty, 44417 Albrecht. First off, I strongly object to the assessment, for the record. One thing I would like to know from the county engineer is the change of flow of water, either stormwater or drainage, to alter it, is there a permit required?
Different than this project.
I'm building to something. If you're going to alter the flow of stormwater or drainage, do you need a permit to do that?
We need the approval of the Ohio Department of Natural Resources.
Okay, I would like to see, when the airport put in the fence, they put in 5 drainage tiles that now dump into the back of our property. I'd like to see that permit.
I don't have that permit.
Is,
We could
does one
request it from the
exist?
airport if you want.
You can request it from the airport, and if they maintain it, then it would be a public record, and they could provide it to you.
Okay, so it's not the farmer, it's the airport that I need to petition for that permit, to see that permit?
Yeah, the farmer rents from the airport.
But yeah, the airport is the owner.
It was put in at the time of the fence.
I cannot, sitting here right now, I can't tell you. If the airport maintains it, it would be a public record, and they,
Nobody's maintained it since they put in, that's the problem. I'm not understanding you.
okay. What I can tell you right here is if there was an approval granted to put the fence in, and it was owned by the airport at the time, and the airport made the application, that approval would be a public record that they should maintain with their normal
So the,
document retention schedules. Now, if that has been happened long enough ago that they no longer retain the copy of the approval based on their document retention schedules, it may be something that you'd have to check with the state, and the state would have a record of when that was approved.
okay, that's
That
through,
would be my, that would be
that's
sitting
through,
here, that would be my.
is that through ODNR then?
Peter, would that be through ODNR?
I have no idea what kind of a permit it would be, but can I address the resident? So, the plan is to run what I refer to as the side ditch from the main ditch between Mr. Motto and Mrs. George's house. Run it about 700 and some feet to the west, which is behind your house and some of the other speakers as well who are here. And that will be a rather shallow ditch, but it will be deep enough to pick up 2 pipes that run under the airport fence. Those were possibly constructed right after 9/11 when the fence was erected. I don't have anything besides a suspicion of that. I don't have any documentation. I don't know if any exists. But rest assured that the natural drainage from about 25 acres of the airport, which is the wooded area, and maybe some of the agricultural area, will continue as it has for many, many years to run in a northerly direction, but it'll be intercepted before it gets to your rear property line and your neighbor's rear property line on the west part. And that will be connected to the main ditch, which would then run north.
How wide it will be the ditch? Wide?
It'll be 2 feet on the bottom and then a side slope that varies.
Okay.
The side slope will be a 2-to-1 side slope, but because of the topography, sometimes the ground is higher, sometimes it's lower. The ditch isn't always exactly the same width.
So are all those drainage pipes that dump out into our yards going to be gone and absorbed by that ditch?
No, no. As I said, the pipes, the 2 pipes in that area will remain, and the flow will continue from those pipes into the ditch that'll be built on the edge of the airport's property, not on your property.
Well, the pipes come out into our property, so how do we alleviate that?
Well, I don't think they do. I'd have to disagree with you, and our survey does not show that to be the case.
It's on this side of the airport fence.
So that's something that confuses everybody, including me. The airport fence, which is I think it's a 12-foot high security fence that was built after 9/11 probably, is not on the property line. It's actually 66 or 60-some feet away from the property line. So that
60 feet?
gap between your legal property line, your rear line, and the airport fence is as long as this room.
60 feet.
Yes, ma'am.
Not according to our property survey. It's like 5, maybe.
Well, maybe you could send me a copy of your property survey, but it
can do
appears on the county GIS, they have an aerial image. And the reason is to avoid having to zigzag the fence around everybody's property, different size lots and so forth. They just struck a straight line that runs, thousands of feet in each direction. And that's where they happened to build it, behind your house.
Okay, so it's going to be a wait and see game to see if those tiles are still dumping into my yard or not until the ditch is dug. Is that pretty accurate?
I would object to the characterization, but I fully expect as an engineer that if this project were constructed according to the plans and specifications, you would not see that flow overflowing into your yard under normal conditions. We can always have a heavy rain, can have a very heavy rain, we can have 3 very heavy rains in a row, and as I stated, the land is very flat. In general, it's very poorly drained. This will restore the drainage to those pipes and all the other acreage.
Over the course of the last 15 years, we've lost, according to my excavator, almost 2 feet of elevation due to the constant wet and settling of our soil. Is replacement of that soil part of this project?
No, I would disagree. In my professional opinion, it is very unlikely that 2 feet of soil has disappeared, but that's my professional opinion. And the answer to your question is no, there's no cost to fill there's no component to fill your property.
You stated something earlier about you doubt that there was an existing ditch. I'm going to have to contraband that or countermand that. When I moved in 1991, there was in fact a ditch. It was very deep and about 3 foot across. that ran the full length from Batten House to Vinnie's Ditch, and that has long since been filled in by sediment. We even had a muskrat push up in that ditch when we moved in there. So there was indeed a ditch at one point. It did exist. So. Our yard is a cesspool. You can't even walk outside without getting completely swarmed by mosquitoes. We had the water tested. We did all at-home kit. It tested for a lot of contaminants. I'm going to have a professional test my soil because I believe my soil is contaminated. And honestly, I feel that the county's responsible for completely ruining my yard and my enjoyment of my yard for a long time. We tried to address this through proper channels 5 years ago and got nowhere. So I'm for lack of a better word, I'm pretty pissed. I've lost my yard. My backyard is gone. I've lost all my trees. I've lost 2 dogs. And I hope that this remedies it, but it's not going to fix what's been done for the last 15 years. It's since 1945, but just really bad in the last 15. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the last sheet we have here for a speaker, I cannot read your handwriting. It's from a farm LLC. If you could just spell your name for the record when you come, no, come on up, because Teresa's gonna have to have this for record, so we have it spelled correctly, sir.
It's Luke Drachenberg, DRACHENBERG, representing Ceres Farms, that's CERES Farms LLC. And we're the property owner to the north of Albrecht there. Is that?
Yes,
is
thank you,
everything?
sir.
Okay, perfect. I guess, yeah, the 3 concerns I have, I mean, we're very in favor of working to clean out the ditch and everything else like that. We've been exploring that on our own the last couple of years. Our issue is through the Farm Service Agency, the United States Department of Agriculture, and some others. There are some wetlands in those woods there. So legally, we've been trying to work through that. That's not a fast process. We purchased the farm about 3 years ago, so it's taken longer than we want, but we're very much in favor of cleaning out the ditch. We were looking at doing that on our own, essentially, until we heard about this project. That said, the cost is something we certainly object to. For us, it equates to about $3,600 per acre of the effect of the benefited area. We purchased that farm for around $5,000 an acre. So for us, that's it's a significant cost. We could clean our section of the ditch materially cheaper, doing everything very much similar. So I guess the 2 big concerns I had, again, were the wetlands, whether that was addressed. I just want to make sure that if this project's done, that it's, done accordingly, and that we don't, us or our farm tenant does not suffer negative effects because of something they didn't do. And then I guess the right-of-way as well, the new proposed route that kind of cuts through our farm there, just wanted to see, that wasn't in the original plan I had seen, so just wanted to see if that's something that would be addressed at a later date or how we'd sort that out.
I can address the wetland concern. We do acknowledge it, and we had sent out a team from Coldwater Consulting to identify potential wetlands, and we've had experience before. Typically, what we attempt to do, to the best of our ability, is to avoid any impacts at all.
Sure.
And if we work in wetlands, we would end up having to probably use something like a timber mat or something to protect the soil.
Sure.
And then the method used is, and Peter will correct me if I'm wrong, the one-step method. So when we excavate, we are actually excavating it out, we're putting it into a truck and taking it away to ensure we do not inadvertently fill a wetland and inadvertently create a headache for Peter and myself and this board.
Okay, perfect, yeah, that answers that concern. Again, we just want to make sure there were no issues there. And then again, just the right-of-way, I guess, is in terms of when that would be addressed if the ditch is rerouted. Again, we're against the cost, we're very much in favor of doing something with the ditch or helping our own way or paying our own portion directly. $110,000 is what we were quoted for our approximately 30 acres. We own quite a few acres and we clean out a lot of ditches. And again, I get it'd have to be to county specs and approval, but I'm sure we could do it for a cheaper cost than that, even though I get that as an estimate. So just the right of way, I guess, was the only other concern.
Okay. Any comments, commissioners? Okay.
But I think they're gonna
Because I thought
address
you guys
that.
had the easements already, or is that something you do after?
The easements are granted by plat upon completion of the project. So currently, there exists no easements, and it would be based upon Peter's report and then final construction to ensure that the ditch is covered, as well as essentially a lane that provides for access for ongoing maintenance, and that's done by plat.
Yeah, which they'd probably want just to keep the ditches
Yeah,
clean.
and we don't have any issue, again, with the current ditch. I'm more saying the proposed reroute north
Right,
there.
and that would be something that is relatively new in the development of the plan, and Peter and I'd be more than happy to sit down with
The
Luke
LLC.
from Saris.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, again, just for losing road frontage there, that would be our only concern. Again, we have no issue with, the easement of the existing ditch or the access or anything else like that, but if we're losing road frontage, that's something that I wasn't aware of before today, so that's something we'd, I guess, certainly want to have a discussion on. So,
Absolutely.
appreciate it, thank you.
Oh, thank you for
Okay,
coming in.
thank you. Okay, at this time, we do not have any resident comments. That was the last one. So, commissioners, would you like to have any continued discussion?
I just
Amongst
want to make
ourselves.
sure that we're, avoiding assessments, moving forward. That's something that I know the previous board had done and something that I want us to continue through this action here today. I just think it's important to point out that it wasn't until really 10 years ago that the board really started taking a look at putting together a stormwater district and doing this. And I know it makes my eyes jump, and my ears jump when I hear like 1945 and all those things, but that's the reality of the way it was. And for the longest time, the feeling was, well, that's the property owner's responsibility, get out there and clear it, so on and so forth. We've seen all the flooded roads and the flooded fields and all those things of that nature, and, went forward with the stormwater fee, which is never a popular thing, but we've been producing a lot of good results. With these $400,000 a year grants where we've been able to do things. Obviously, this is not under that grant initiative. But I do want to say to the public that, we always take these matters seriously. Property rights, we take very seriously. And we always try to do things in the most responsible way possible. The thing that's been really good to see is that we've been involved with a lot of major ditch clearing projects, and we have seen some just awful before pictures and some great results afterwards. I know there's been times where we've done a big project and we'll get a heavy rain, and I'll call up and say, hey, what have we heard from the neighbors over there? And they'll say, we got a couple phone calls. Folks said that the project held, everything did well and performed well. As we all know, we get those really unusual rains and they come more frequently. But still, I think we produced a lot of really good results. So we try to look for effectiveness, efficiency, and do the best that we can. And at the end of the day, this board is operated with the understanding that, we do not want the assessments to the property owners, and I'm sure that's what we'll be looking at today and continuing with that. And as I said, that's something that we take very seriously. And legal.
I do, I think I've spoken to all of you individually about this. It's my opinion, the opinion of our office, that the American Recovery Plan funds are usable for projects like this. I think it's one of the intended ways in which these funds be spent. So from a legal perspective, I do not have an issue with dedicating some of those funds for this. I think both Don and Peter spoke at length about the overall general public welfare benefit here and the public good. And I think the decision to put 100% of the assessments on that and not the property owner assessments is more than legally defensible. If that helps where you're at.
Thank you, Dan. Are you all set, Commissioner Lundy?
I noticed the resolution states that we'll be doing a blend of the dollars. Do we actually have to talk about what the breakdown is, or that can be determined at another time, or?
I don't think you have to talk about it. I think it's in the resolution, the draft resolution that was went around. I believe that it's in the proposal that was submitted by Peter and Don, correct, Peter?
Yeah, I don't have anything to do with financing.
Don submitted the proposal?
Well, Teresa and I worked on it.
Yeah. If you would like to change it, I believe we could, but I believe it's already on the record is what the recommendation.
Yeah, I guess what I'm reading here, it says cost of the improvement will be paid with Stormwater District Funds / American Rescue Plan Fund, and the annual maintenance will be paid by Stormwater District Funds, subject to further resolutions of the district. So that covers us?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, there's no breakdown, so it doesn't matter.
I don't think it does. I think the record is clear on what the proposed breakdown is. I think there's evidence to support it. I think that the three of you indicated that you're fine. Teresa, I'm sure you're fine with that, right?
Yeah, I'm fine. I mean, if they really want to put, say, 100,000 and 100,000 clearly in there, they could, but
Good, I don't think you need to.
We don't need to.
As long as we know we're in agreement about
Right.
a third, right?
A
A
third?
third of the ARP funds? Okay.
Third of the cost being dedicated to ARP, 2/3 dedicated to stormwater management.
Right.
and I can clearly put that in there, 1/3 ARP and
Okay.
2/3. So whatever the outcome would be instead of saying 100, 100.
Correct.
Okay, you can put that in there.
Never know, it changes. So.
I know.
And I'd like to just thank Peter Zwick and our engineer's office for all your hard work on this. We had a lot of paperwork to go over last night. I'm sure I was reading it, I'm sure my colleagues were reading it, and thank Don Romanchik for all the work you've done on this, and, you know, your comments about the benefits to the public welfare and the public good, and that it will, you know, help the ditch flow behind the airport and protect Albert Road from flooding and provide drainage for the farms and relief for the homeowners, of course. So I can agree with that and agree with my colleagues on the 1/3, 2/3 split idea. Commissioner Moore, do you have anything to add?
Nope.
Okay. All right. All set, Matt?
Yep.
All set, Commissioner? Okay. Then at this time, I will move to close the public hearing portion of the meeting. Are we ready,
Well,
Dan?
Did we adopted the,
No, we have to close the hearing first, and then we can adopt it. Yep.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, motion was made by Hung, seconded by Lundy. Any further discussion, Commissioners? Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hung?
Yes.
Commissioner Lundy,
Aye.
Commissioner Moore?
Aye.
Okay, and the chair will entertain a motion at this time.
I guess I would move that we adopt the resolution set forth addressing the Batten House lateral number 2. And do we need can part of that motion be to suspend maintenance assessments as well?
for as long as there
No,
are,
no.
I thought it said a year.
That's something we do on an annual basis.
Yeah, I
I
thought
don't
it said
put
a
it-
year.
for this
It's
year.
not
For
done
this
on
year.
an annual basis. It's done
Yeah.
per ditch project, and they just automatically do it annually, but it's in each ditch project
We have to do
stated.
that.
So, yes.
So my
But it says
motion
something.
is,
You want, I believe
Correctly
the
worded.
motion on the floor is, or on the table, or on the floor is to accept the recommendations made by the engineer's office in
Yes.
consultation with stormwater management to suspend collection of the maintenance fees for this year, and that there will be no assessments to property owners based on the recommendations of the engineer and stormwater management, and the assessment for this project will be set at 100% to the public benefit and the public welfare, and that funds will be used from 2/3 stormwater management and 1/3 American Recovery Plan.
Was that your motion?
so move.
I'll second that.
All right. Motion was made by Lundy, seconded by Moore. Any discussion from the board? Okay,
You asked me to restate the motion, I'm gonna punch you.
I didn't get it fully.
I thought Matt did a good job.
My words exactly.
right. Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Lundy,
Aye.
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Commissioner Hung.
Yes. Okay, B, other business. Is there any other business from commissioners or the clerk this morning?
I do not.
Okay, Madam Clerk, do you have a report for clerk's report?
Just, the commissioners will be meeting tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m.
Okay, and since there's no further business this morning, this meeting is